Okay, so in this video we're going to be replacing this wing. Now the owner has asked us to replace the wing because obviously it's all rotten. That can actually be fixed and welded before what it costs for a wing. It doesn't make any sense. However, the wing that we have is an aftermarket one, so it doesn't have the actual indicator in place, so we're going to have to draw that and cut that out and put the holes in place. And there's two new indicators coming, one for either side. And we're basically going to remove the wing, get the new wing, prime it, well, make the holes, prime it, paint it, polish it. But when we polish it, we're not going to polish it too well because you want it to match as best as possible. And we've been asked to polish it, we've been asked to paint it off the van, because normally you paint it on the van and you blend the paint across, but in this case we're going to paint it off the van. So we'll try and get as close as we can, but it's not going to match 100%, but we'll see where we're at. Let's go. Okay, so what we started doing is we started putting masking tape across where the indicator goes, and all I'm going to do is just line all this down to their ridge line, up to the swayage line with masking tape, and then I'll cross hatch it to make sure it's strong, cut out all the holes, and then we'll peel this off and then put it on the actual cardboard that we're going to cut, because we're going to change all that wing. So that's the plan. We're going to start by doing that. Okay, so all I've done is now is I've gone the other way with the masking tape, and that's just to make sure it's nice and strong, so when you peel it off it stays accurate. And now I'm going to cut the holes out, and then we'll trim all the masking tape off, top and bottom, and I know that goes on the bottom swayage line, that goes on the top, and it should land nice and neat. Okay, so I've cut it square, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the holes out. I've put this, always do this where you can, because you don't want the indicator light to fall back inside and you take the panel off. So I've done that just as a precaution, just to make sure we don't lose it. And I'm now going to, I've got the holes for the original holes for the lights. There's a hole there, locating pin there. We're going to make that hole, and then we're going to cut out the circular hole. And then all we'll do is we'll just transfer this onto a piece of cardboard and we'll cut it out. Okay, so we've taken the tape off the van, and we've got a new, supposedly primed wing, but we're going to actually clean it anyway, prime it properly, and do it again, because you can see there's some, I'm not sure you can see that, there's some imperfections there. So we'll get this all cleaned up. Okay, so we're going to get the template we've just taken off the van, and it's shriveled up a bit, but really we need these measurements, and we'll double check them again just to make sure. So I'm going to line this up on the very end of the van. So I want to follow that swayage line there. Okay, so now that's on, I'm going to get my calipers and just measure these again, just to make sure that they line up with the measurements on the van. Okay guys, so this is the mod guard that we're working on. So I'll just turn it around a second. And what I'm going to start doing is, you're not going to see my face in this video because it's too low. What I'm going to start doing is, I've marked out the holes, as I've shown you before, where the holes are going to be. So I've got a step drill, I've got to make two 7mm holes, a 39mm hole in the middle, and then a 10mm hole on the side, and that's the holes for the actual indicators. So that's the plan for that. Then I'm going to turn it over, take the sticker off on the underside, because we're going to paint both sides of the panel, and then I'll start priming it. So I'll make these holes first, really quick. Okay, so let's make the holes. Normally when you're drilling to steel you'd use oil, but this that's thin, it's going to go straight through. So in fact I've got to be careful I don't go too straight through, if that makes sense. So I need a 7mm there. Right, double check again. 7mm, 7mm, 39mm and 10mm. Okay. So I'll do this one first. In fact, hang on. 4, 6. Yes, that's another problem. You see not sure if you can see that, but the stepper drill goes up in twos. So it's 4, 6, 8, 10, and I need a 7. That is only for the bolt, so I can probably go to an 8 to be fair. Yeah, let's go to an 8, it's fine. So third one down. Okay, that's just the first step. Now, not sure if you've ever used step drills before, but you don't want to put too much heat in them because you knacker them. If you see any coloration, you've knackered it. So I'm going really slowly, but what I'm not doing is it's going a bit slower than usual because I'm not putting any force, because the last thing I want to do is bend the panel. So, so I'm going to be really careful with what I'm doing here. So I'll do it in stages. I'll do this as well to a 6. Just need to make sure we're accurate. Okay, so that's a 4. Let's go down to a 6. Okay, so they're supposed to be 7mm, but I'm going to leave them with a 6mm because they already seem quite big. We'll leave them with that for the time being. So we'll do a 10mm. That's 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah. Okay, so now I've got the holes ready. So all I have to do is just make that hole a bit larger, which isn't really a problem. But I have to make sure I get all the swarf off, take all the tape off. Because we now have our holes. Quite good actually, not sharp at all. But I've got to check the other side. Yeah, so this side's still a bit rough. So what I'll do is I'll go over it with the stepper drill again just to clear all the sharp edges. I just need to be careful not to make the holes any wider. Okay. Now, in an ideal world, I'd have a nice round foul and get them perfect, but it's not going to show. Quite annoying actually. I know if my ex-colleague Kale was here, he'd be going nuts, but anyway, he'll have to do. Okay, so the next step is, this is never going to show, but there's a sticker on the inside. It's never going to show, you can paint over it to be fair, but it's going to annoy me to death, so I'm going to use a toffee wheel and just take it off with a toffee wheel. Okay, so this actually came down. This was actually, when the chap bought it, it said it was primed, but it's too slippery for me, even though it's being primed. I'm still novice painter, so I'm not comfortable spraying on this. I'm just worried it's going to peel off. So because I'm still new, I'm just going to scuff it with a scotch pad real quick, and then I'm going to clean it, and then we'll lay down the undercoat of the primer. Okay, so I'll now get my degreaser. And I'll go over every single part that needs painting. Now, important thing about this is don't let it dry on the panel so it doesn't leave any stains. And it actually evaporates very quickly. Okay, so as you can see, the conditions are not ideal. So as soon as I started spraying, the wind started picking up, right? I'm spraying outside, it's really warm. There's dust outside, it's on a gravel industrial estate, if you'd like, so really not ideal conditions. Also, when I was moving, I didn't position myself properly, so I was struggling to reach. And also, I forgot about it in there, so there's a thicker line of primer there. Now for the primer, it doesn't make a difference, we're okay, I'm going to sand it back anyway. I've still got to give it another coat, but I've got to make sure that when I do the paint, I'm really careful. Especially, I know it's the underside, but might as well use it for practice, right? The top's going to be a lot easier because it's all smooth edges and just go across. But the underside's a bit different. So what you'll find is, it's dry already. Perfect. So I'll leave it another 30 seconds, I think. Oh yeah, and also because I was spraying that way, I forgot to do this bit here, I've just realised as well. So what I'll do now is I'll just stand here and I'll go across the edges and then I'll do that part there, which is quite difficult, and then I'll go across the whole panel again. Luckily it's brand new, so it's quite straightforward. Also, you've got loads of insects flying around, so if you catch that when you paint it's not really a problem, because when you're priming, you can wipe it off. When I put the paint, I can wipe it off, but then when I do the lacquer, I can't wipe it off. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I've done that side. For some reason here wasn't laying down properly. It's a bit rough, but I'm not too concerned because I've still got to sand it. I've got to sand it anyway, so that'll take out any bumps or wherever it is. But I know that somewhere here, I think there was. Can't see. I think there's a slight dent. Yeah, you can just about feel it there. So normally you'd hammer that out, but it's so slight, I'll probably make it worse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it, do the same again, because it's dried already, it's that warm. I'm going to clean it properly and apply, get away, a second coat of primer on this side. So let's go. In fact, just going to scuff it up before I clean it actually. Okay, so that's that for today. So, as you can see, not ideal conditions. It's getting dark. I can't see what I'm doing. Looks to have gone down really, really smooth. I'm really happy with that. So, I don't want to touch it. I'm not. You can do this, right? I know it's dry. It's not because this dries straight away. I can pretty much handle it now. But my hands aren't very clean, so you don't want to get your oily fingers on the paint because then it'll show, especially with it being white paint. So the only thing to do now is get a step drill with a bigger hole tomorrow for that, and I'll just go around it with some primer. I've got some left, and clean the gun. Make sure that's clean and ready. And then come tomorrow and then sand it. At this point, I'm not worried about bugs because, like I said, it's all touch dry, so it's not gonna. There'll be some places where it's quite thick, so you probably see that I went under here quite thick because that's your harder wearing areas under the bonnet and over here. It's a black panel. It's light grey primer. It should be a white really, but it's light grey primer. And across here because that's where you're likely to hit it when you install it as well. So all going well, this might be painted tomorrow, fingers crossed. Okay, so what I'm doing, guys, is we've drilled the holes, we've primed it yesterday. So what I'm doing now is I'm just getting some 600, I've got to do two things. I've got to sand it back, make it nice and smooth. Make sure your hands are really clean when you do that. And I'm also, there's a little dent somewhere here. So I should have filled it before, but I'm going to sand it back first and then we'll take it from there. So all I've got is some 600 grit sandpaper and a nice foam pad, and I was going to sand it back. I'm going to wet sand it back actually. I'm not going to go crazy, I'm just going to sand it back just to get all the roughness off. Also, what I'm being careful of is I don't want to go over the actual ridges on the edge. And ideally I've got a spray bottle to do this. It's a lot easier, but I can't find the spray bottle for some reason. Well, I think I can. I think I've used it for something else, that's the problem. So all I'm going to do is I like to do it in sections. So I'll do this bit first and I'll do that bit first, because that saves me going up and over there, and then you take it off the edge. So I'll do this side first. Hopefully you can see me because this camera's tracking me. Let's have a look. Okay, it's better. And you can actually hear the sandpaper as you go along. You can hear how, when it goes a bit rough, as to hear where it's nice and gliding across. That gives you an indication as to where you're at as well. Awesome. And all I'll do is I'll just feel it with my hands. Now I've put 3 layers of primer on here, so I'm not too worried about going through to the metal. So it's just a case of make it nice and smooth. Always be careful for these edges. Okay. That's so annoying with a cup. Gonna have to fix that today. Now I try and go in a circular motion where I can, but over here it's a bit difficult because I'm transitioning between one side and the other side. Perfect. Let's try and move this back a bit. That's better. That's better, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, you can always tell when it's getting dry because the sandpaper starts to get very milky and it starts to drag. This is the best way I can put it. Just clean all the dirt off. I tell you, I've had people asking me, what on earth are you doing? Why have you quit a corporate job to do this? And I can promise you, I'd do this any day of the week over being stuck in pointless meetings every day, doing the same old thing and nothing ever gets done. I did like my job though, to be fair. I did like my job, so. But this is better. Okay, so now I'm just going to check it over again. Also, you don't want to be doing this. I've got a foam pad, so it's not too bad, but you don't want to be pushing with your fingers, otherwise you get little grooves. So I'm always trying to go as flat as I possibly can. Okay, so that's that bit done. All I'm going to do now is very lightly is go around the edges, but I don't want to go too nuts, because that's never going to show anyway, but we'll make it nice and clean. You know, I'm thinking I should have fixed that dent before actually, because what's going to happen now is I've got to fix the dent. I'm only going to use fine filler anyway, really. I'm going to fix the dent and then I've got to sand back there, but I can't just sand there. I've got to sand a wider area again. Bit annoying. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, that's it. So right, so that's that bit done. Awesome and smooth, that. Look at that. Okay, so I'll get a clean rag and we'll sort out this dent, which I should have done before. Never mind. Okay, let's get a clean rag. Balls to the wall. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the, I've cleaned it now, I'm going to use, oh my god, panel wipe again. Wipe the spit off, put the filler on, let it set, and then I'm going to sand it down. Well, once it sets anyway, we'll sand it down. Oh, it feels so smooth, it's so satisfying. Okay, so, you can't even feel it, but there's a little dent just there, you can just about see it. Barely visible. Okay, so I've got my cleaner, and I'm going to just clean this area off really well. Might as well do the rest of it. Okay. Okay, so I'm not sure you can see that on camera, but I made a mistake yesterday when I thought it was dry, but it wasn't. I put the indicator on it and I pushed it down, so it's made a little mark on the outside. So I'm going to just fill these tiny scratches there I've made. Okay, so let's put some hardener. I think I put a bit too much hardener on this. Okay. Yeah, that'll do. Let that dry. That's all that takes. It's only tiny, so it's not. Okay, so we'll let that dry, let it set, then we'll sand it back again, and then we'll probably, I was going to block it off, but that's just a scratch, that's never going to show, and this here is marginal at best, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, so I haven't filmed it, but I've done the exact same thing on the opposite side whilst that was drying, so I've just made sure that the actual filler didn't actually hit the rack, and I've basically sanded that nice and smooth underneath, so that's ready for paint. You don't need to paint the inside, but I'm at it anyway, so I might as well do it properly. Even though it's a transit van, you want to do it nice and clean, so that's nice and smooth as anything. I'll clean it later on because I want to sand the filler now. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to dry sand it. Need a hand, Tom? Okay. And I'm not going to wet sand it this time because I want to make sure the actual filler is cured properly. I'm not going to wet sand it this time, so I want to make sure the fill is cured properly. So I'm going to sand this. Again, sorry about the noise because there's people working, but I need to get this done. And I was going to go in a circular motion. I'm not going to apply any pressure, just let the pad do its thing. And I'm going to sand a wider area as well, so it blends in properly. Now for this, I'm actually using MPA fine filler, which is really good for really fine things like the scratches I had over there. But what I find with this is quite hard to sand. Okay, so now we're just going to rinse it off properly and we'll start painting. Well, rinse it off, degrease it again, then start painting. Now as you can see, I'm on the outside of my unit. It's a little bit windy, you can't see the wind, but it's a little bit windy. So what I'm going to do, which I forgot actually, is wet the floor as well. I mean, to be fair, we're quite high up, so I don't think it's going to make a difference for what I'm painting. I don't think it's going to make a difference, to be honest. So I think I'll just dry it off and let's see how this goes. Oh, sharp. Damn. Okay, now that I've left well, I've done 2.5 coats because I ran out of paint, unfortunately. So what I don't want to do is, when you run out of paint, in fact, as soon as I knew it was running out of paint, I stopped, because what you don't want it to do is to start spitting, which is really bad. This is the inside of the panel, but it's looking really good actually. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is clean the gun, and I'm going to mix the clear coat and then apply the clear coat. I can't leave this overnight because then the clear coat won't stick. Well, that's my understanding anyway. So I'll let this flash off, let it go dry. Ideally I want to use a tack cloth on it to remove any debris if you'd like. But the problem is I'm half in my unit, half outside my unit, so I haven't really got the time, to be honest. As soon as I put what I'm going to do is I'm going to prepare the clear coat. I'm going to clear a path there, and as soon as I do the clear coat, I'm going to do one light pass just to make it sticky, and then a heavy pass as soon as it goes tacky. And I'm going to bring the actual panel in and close the door straight away and leave, just to stop all the wind coming in, to try and remove as much dust as possible from landing on the panel. And then tomorrow I'll have to turn it around and then do the other side tomorrow morning. That's how it is. Okay, now that that's dried, all I'm going to do now is get a tack cloth and just run it across. I said I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to do it quickly because it's quite dry actually. It's dried quite quickly. At this stage I'm going to be really careful not to touch it with my fingers as well. So go all around the edges. So what I'm going to do, guys, is, because I'm in a rush because of the wind, is I'm going to spray it with, I'm going to spray the lacquer, turn the camera off straight away, bring it in straight away and leave, and I'll film again tomorrow morning when I'll do the other side. Okay, let's go. Okay, so I'm here early, next day. Underside's gone quite well. I don't want to show it to you now because I'm rushing around to get the top side done because I'm going away for the weekend. So what I'm going to do now is I've cleaned it, I've tack ragged it again, and I'm going to go over it with paint, a couple of coats of paint, 3 coats of paint to be precise, and then we'll lacquer it, and hopefully it won't get covered in dust. Right, let's go. It's going to be a quick one today, I'm afraid. Okay, so that's the first coat. So you want to resist the earth to cover it all in one pass. So go over it really lightly. So I can see already I've got a fish eye there, which is really annoying. Just go over it really lightly, let it flash over, then go over it again. So all I'll do in the meantime is I'll start preparing the lacquer in the meantime whilst this is drying off a bit. It's looking quite nice though. Okay guys, so this panel on the Ford Transit is done. A bit dirty today, I'm afraid. A lot of jobs going on. So I'll show you what it looks like. So that's the panel, really nice and shiny. Look at that, lovely and shiny. I'm not sure you can see because it's quite dark. Obviously that's a caddy colour and that's a Transit colour, but as per request, so it's not going to match it. It doesn't look too bad, to be fair. It doesn't look too bad. Obviously it doesn't really match there because we're going to do some more paint work down there eventually, but the actual panel itself came really neat, and that's what the old panel looked like. Okay guys, that was good for myself and for the client because I did a bit more practicing with paint as well, because I'm going to be painting the caddy quite soon. Not the whole van, I'm just going to touch up the rust and see what I can sort out. So fingers crossed the paintwork is improving, and I'll see you on the next video.